Jeffrey's a businessman, but Jeffrey, wait. Aren't you gonna go spend time with your children and your wife, Jeffrey? But you've already got enough money, Jeffrey. Why are you working so hard? And they miss you. Jeffrey, she's planning on leaving. Jeffrey, she's looking at that guy. Adonis. Adonis lives the life that we want. He wakes up next to his beautiful feminine wife in his gorgeous countryside home. He can already hear his healthy children playing outside. He steps outside on this beautiful sunny day, looks over to the houses around his, and his brothers have just woken up too. They all live next to each other and they've created a community together. He gets ready, admiring the physique that he's built over 10,000 workouts. And he sits down to begin his day of purposeful work, the work that has afforded him this lifestyle, the work that has made him a free man. This is the Adonis lifestyle, every man's dream. Living a wholesome, healthy life like this lets Adonis stay so present and loving with his family. I remember being 7, 8 years old, sat on the bed with my mother crying and asking her to divorce my father. He'd always come home from work at 6:30 p.m, always at the same time. And he just always seemed so angry, so abusive, to the point that often when I'd hear him come home at 6:30 p.m, I'd just sprint straight to the bathroom and lock myself in there. I wouldn't even need a shit. I'd just literally just sit down on the floor and just kill time, knowing that, he'll come through the house, see me in the toilet, he'll leave me alone, and he'll go like watch TV and drink on the couch there instead of like hurting me. And there's one time when he did really hurt me. I'm pleading to my mother, asking her, like, why don't you just divorce him? And obviously I'm a young child. I didn't even know, like, the fear that she would have had involved with that. And, she was here in this country, in the UK, by herself, like, without family. And she didn't know how things work. She didn't even speak much English. And, do you know what I mean? So, around 18 years later, just 1 to 2 weeks ago, I've kind of gotten my wish. My father doesn't live with us anymore. The house is like very empty and quiet. My brother moved out with his wife. My sister's traveling. Silence and loneliness in an empty house that we all grew up in. Why is it that basically my entire family resent my father, even though he worked 16 hours a day? He worked incredibly hard, basically gave himself like an alcohol addiction, gave himself sleep deprivation to provide for the family. It's like a soul earner, which is what many like masculine men would love to do, right? Provide for their families. Why is it that like my sister will probably never speak to him again? Why is it that when he sends me a message, I won't open it for a few days? You can say that I'm ungrateful for this, and perhaps I am. I do believe I'm a very grateful person because I've practiced that skill for years. But the truth is, if you just imagine my scenario here, wouldn't you find it difficult to still be loving and appreciative of the man who's, even though he's worked so hard, he just wasn't actually like loving and warm and healthy around you? You can do all of that cultural masculinity, like that cool masculinity of making money. You can do all of that for your woman and for your future children. They might still end up fucking hating you if you're bringing the wrong kind of energy into the home. Even billionaires get divorced because it's not about how much money you make. This is one of the biggest disagreements I have with a lot of like the male influencers that you see these days. These like Andrew Tate, Justin Waller, Iman Gaji. They hype up how important money is in the relationship, and they always say the same thing, which is like, oh, but you can provide for your woman. And that is definitely kind of nice. But there's many, many men before us, so many men, successful guys who've provided for their wives and for their children, and their families fucking hate them. Because if you are like this cold businessman, this cold career guy who's just working all the time and not actually showing up in the relationship and not even raising his own children, of course they're going to start to like dislike you. That dynamic of the hard-working father who comes home after a hard-working day. Sure, it's like we all respect the guy who's doing that. But when he inevitably comes home in a bit of an unhealthy mood because he's overworked, he's sleep deprived, and he slightly lashes out, or even in his small micro expressions of his face where he's just like wary, he's tired, it's going to be very hard for his wife to still feel like very polarized to him, to still be very attracted to him. It's going to be very hard for his children to really think he's still Superman. Because working hard, it's not like a title that you should hold if it means that it comes at the sacrifice of other things. Now, this is the weird part of this advice. I think that if you're a very young man, if you're 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, I think that you should work so fucking hard, and you should actually sometimes sacrifice normal, healthy things like, you know, having a great social life, playing video games and everything. But when it comes to actually having a family, by that point, in my advice to you, you already need to be so successful, not just with the amount of money that you make, but the lifestyle balance that you get to have. Because imagine two men. There's one guy who's making a fuck ton of money, right? He's making millions of dollars a year, millions and millions and millions. And his family live in a massive house and everything and cars and all this, right? But he has to genuinely work 12, 14-hour days. And he also has to spend weeks flying around and stuff, right? And because of that, because he's constantly slightly sleep deprived and he's stressed and he's got this thing and this thing and this thing, when his little boy is performing at school and he looks out into the crowd of parents and he sees his mum sat by herself as always, little boy's not going to give a fuck that daddy's just got another deal in Dubai or some shit. Little boy doesn't give a fuck. And you know what's interesting? Even the mature, intelligent wife actually starts like not giving a shit. Because one of the sad things about working hard as a man to provide for your family is the concept of hedonic adaptation, which basically means that people get used to the stuff that they have. So if you're a man and you've got your woman and your children and you're all broke, and you as the guy start working really hard and suddenly you've got like a really good amount of wealth, that difference, that acceleration, everyone feels it and everyone's like so excited, this is amazing. But soon, there's going to be a level that you just maintain at, because you can't accelerate for your entire life, right? There's going to be a level where roughly like you're in this kind of category, this pocket of like, yeah, you make a few million a year. Increasing that to 7 million a year is not going to change anything from that being 4 million a year, for example, right? People hedonically adapt, which means they get used to the lifestyle that they've got. So when this rich millionaire guy, when his family are used to the money and the cars, him continuously making millions a year through working 12-hour days, it almost feels invisible for his children and wife, because that's just the home that they're used to now. What the real things that they feel is that he didn't show up on that, like his child's, like, I don't know, spelling bee or some shit. The real thing that they feel is that he hasn't had sex with his wife for weeks because he's constantly sleep deprived, he's got low libido and he's flying around. The real thing that they feel is the wife starting to get attracted to like her personal trainer, because it's about time that she's actually had like a masculine guy who's looking at her and giving her presents and time together. This, unfortunately, is where I think our generation of men are heading because of the biggest male influencers today. All they're preaching is this one dynamic: work hard. And I understand why, because their audience is of 19-year-old men who need to hear this message. But I really hope that you can instill this. That's the kind of stuff that you should do when you're super young. But when it comes to having a wife and family that you really want to stick to, and you want to make sure that, you know, you're the father for your children all of their lives, you don't want any bullshit to do with divorcing or anything, then you need to kind of become more like the second man. The man who, when he was 20 years old, worked brutally fucking hard, got to the point where he was making 10, 20, 30, whatever thousand a month, 100K a year, 200K a year, even more. worked supremely hard for that. But when he started to realize that he's getting ready for fatherhood, instead of just working more to make more money, he started working in a way to minimize his time involved in the business, in his career, so that he would have more time to be with his family. So this second man still makes a fuck ton of money. He still makes far beyond like the top 1% of men in the entire world. But he does so whilst only working literally 2, 3, 4 hours a day, which means that he can spend 2 hours a day teaching his children, actually genuinely being his children's father and distilling his values onto his children. He can spend an hour a day making love to his wife. Imagine that every single day. There's basically no married men out there who can say that they do that. Because 99% of married men have unfortunately taken the sort of Western capitalistic propaganda. Now, certainly this, I'm not telling you to be broke. I've never once told you that being broke and being a fucking loser and being unproductive is right. I've never told you that. So don't like get into the extreme side and say, oh, but what do you want from us? Work super fucking hard when you're young, but understand that you will need more balance as you get older and closer to having a family. If you don't want to have a family, obviously just click off this video. This video is for like the guys who really want the Adonis lifestyle, who couldn't imagine anything more fulfilling than having that beautiful, healthy family whilst you've got like your purposeful work and everything, right? That's like the lifestyle that I'm aiming to achieve. And so if I tell you from my story, 19, 20 years old, total degenerate. 22 years old, became an entrepreneur, and I worked really fucking hard for about 3 years, up until 25, 26 years old, and I just worked 10, 12-hour days. Even this year, I've worked like 12-hour days for months at a time. Now, as I'm 26 years old and getting ready, really ready for fatherhood, like I really expect to have like my first child born within 2 years from now. Now it's no longer about me working 10 hours a day on my business, because me making more money, going from $100,000 a month profit, by the way, profit. Obviously, I'm an outlier. I make a fuck ton of money, right? But just think about that. Going from $100,000 a month profit to 200, 300K, it's actually not going to change that much compared to me having a better relationship with my woman. If my relationship with my woman improves by 10%, that might just save my future child's life. That might just mean that we won't get divorced 30 years down the line. Improving my profits by 30%. Oh, wow, an extra 30K a month. Hedonic adaptation's going to basically make that like irrelevant. Once you've got the house and you've had the nice little excitement of it for like a month, you're just used to it. This is just your house. This has been proven by so many like pieces of scientific research. This doesn't mean that you should be broke and be fine with having no money. But this means that you should get to the point where you're making a great deal of money, 10K a month, 20K a month, whilst working super hard. And then you should find ways to maintain the amount that you're making, but by reducing your hours so that then you can prepare for fatherhood. Then you can imagine if you want to homeschool your children and make sure that they're not learning any degenerate stuff in school, you can do. What's going to change your life more? An extra $10,000 profit a month compared to let's say you normally makes $30,000 a month, right? You've become a successful businessman. Going from 30 to 40,000 a month, it's really not going to change much. Saving 4 hours a day to homeschool your children yourself, to make sure that they're getting good values, to be there and observing, the tutors that you bring in, like you pay private teachers to come in and teach your children. Spending an hour a day, like dating your wife, dressing up with her and like being really cute with her. That's going to give you higher life satisfaction and fulfillment than just the extra money that you could build. I think the reason why so many successful men keep getting divorced is because it is not success that maintains a woman's love. You can certainly, it certainly helps with attracting a woman if you're successful. But honestly, for high quality women, it is not the success that attracts them. It's not the money that attracts them. It's the man that you had to become to obtain that level of success and money. The reason why men who have worked so hard to provide for their family still get divorced, and in my opinion, still deserve to get divorced, is because they have spent 0 hours for years leveling up the skill of love. Making money is a skill that these men have maxed out. They've got level 99 out of 100 in this skill, and they're still spending 12 hours a day like a sad little video gamer, power leveling this skill, trying to gain experience. Like, you remember that concept of being in a video game where you get levels really fast at the beginning, but when you're a high level, it takes ages, and it's kind of diminishing results. Let's say if the maximum level is like 99, like it was on RuneScape, when you're like level 96, it takes like fucking days to get the next level, whereas before it used to take like 5 minutes. There's so many men they'll just level up the money skill, whilst their love skill is like 7 out of 99. In my opinion, this sounds brutal. I think the hardworking men who have provided for their family still deserve to be divorced if they like ignore the skill of love. Because this pisses men off. I wrote this on a community post and everyone disagreed with me. And I just thought, okay, masculine guys, everyone thinks they're a masculine man, right? Men take responsibility. Men understand cause and effect. If you've got a low skill level, you deserve the consequences of that. So what I wrote on my YouTube community post about this, the men who haven't leveled up their love skill deserve to get divorced. And people go, oh no, he's worked so hard, Matt Hamza, how can you say this masculinity is, he worked hard to provide. If you think that all that a man should do is provide for his family, that's just sad. That's literally that's disrespecting yourself. You are a fucking, you are a human being whose spiritual and religious teachers say that we are beings of light, like a reflection of God himself. We are beings, like spiritual beings of love. And here you are trading all of that away for just money. You think the gift that you can just give to your family is just money. Do you even know your potential? Money it is absolutely required in this modern day. Don't believe anyone who tells you it's not. But to just think to yourself that you are just a mule for your family is just sad. It makes me want to look at you and say, bro, you are destined for so much more if you take a step out of this fucking capitalistic materialism. There is a bigger gift that you can give to your family. There is a bigger gift that you can give to your woman. And so many men don't know this. And I really don't want you to become one of these guys who just has this weird life where all you're doing is just like a sweaty video gamer, power leveling the skill of money because your ego is attached to that. And because it's like, it's a nice metric to quantify. It's kind of addictive having smart goals. I don't want you to become one of those men who have sacrificed their entire lives for that, thinking that all you can give to your family is money. Stay here and let me read you a chapter quickly. When a man's value is no longer measured by what he does, by his finances or social standing, how does he determine his worth? In our new world, a man's presence, his depth of awareness, is his most valuable asset. You have seen this every single year on year recently, that more and more like feminists and women are able to make their own money, so that for a man to bring anything to the table, the standards keep getting really high, right? So you've seen those videos where these little degenerate red pill men will interview women and they'll say, okay, what does like the guy need to bring to the table? What does what kind of guy are you looking for? And these women will always say the same things. Oh, he's got to be 6'5", he's got to be super tall, he's got to be this, he's got to be this. The reason why so many women are getting so entitled and their standards for relationships keep going high is because they are able to make their own money. And so if a woman can make 70k a year, then she no longer wants a guy to just make 70k. She wants the guy to make 2 times as much, right? The value that you can bring to a relationship is no longer the ability to provide. That's not what's special. 50 years ago, that was what was special. If you could provide for your family 100 years ago because you were like some hardworking manager in some factory, that was so attractive because women couldn't work themselves. These days, women can work. And so what does a man need to bring to the table? If you can just bring money to the table, they don't it's not that special anymore. Women have their own money. So what can a man bring that a woman can't? You can bring your masculine presence. You can bring your ability to look her in the eyes and be here with zero thoughts if you train this skill. And that is what makes a woman, a feminine woman, feel so alive, more than you could ever gift her in some fucking fancy bag or $1 million. You gift a woman $1 million and she will be excited for minutes. Then she'll forget about it when she's having a shit 3 hours later. A few days later, she'll remember and she'll be like, oh yeah, she'll go shopping, okay. Then she'll forget about it when she's getting fucked by someone else. All of this culture of like, just work hard and make money, guys, then you can buy women stuff and you can provide. That's gone. It's outdated. It's like basically it's the baseline. It's the least that you could possibly do in a relationship. You have to bring this weird spiritual love to the relationship. Otherwise, your children won't even give a fuck that you don't even live in the house anymore. Because if all you are is a mule, You're just playing the game of life like a bot. Like, remember on video games, there was bots, there was like, little scripts and programs you could use to like train up your MMORPG guy by itself. That's how most men live their lives, thinking that that's the height of life. Being able to send your woman money. That's level 1. This is what I don't understand about these men that you see who are propagating this message to you. They actually are ambitious men. This is what you've got to realize, right? This is not me saying don't be ambitious. This is me telling you to be more ambitious. Level 1 ambition is to think, yep, I'd love to be a mule for my future family. Yep, I'll work 12 hours a day and I'll pay for stuff. That's level 1. Pay. Oh, wow. Oh, utility bill. I'll pay the utility bill. What the fuck? You can fucking love a woman into light, bro. You can like love a woman so fearlessly that it feels like you've joined into one person. You can raise your own children to have them avoid the pitfalls and massive fucking pains that you went through. And instead, you just want to settle at level 1. You're not a level 1 man. You wouldn't have watched this video if you were. You wouldn't be working so fucking hard, and you wouldn't have had so much of like these thoughts about success if you were just supposed to be a level 1 man. Level 1 man makes money and gives it to family. That's like, so what? So many men have done that in history. That's not special. Can you do that and also show up for your family? Can you do that and also have incredible health? Can you do that and also make sure that your children are healthy mini athletes? Can you do that and make your family unit so fucking strong because every week you read a book on relationships and love and you find out the next thing that you could implement for your family to get stronger, to the point that your little boy will tell you his greatest fears? Do you want to actually get to know your little boy? Do you want to actually get to know your family? Or do you want to just be a fucking mule? Most men will stay at level 1, and you'll see these weird men kind of acting like they're more masculine when they're just idiots. They're just uneducated men. This is why I have no sympathy for these kinds of men. Open up a book. You know the secrets. They are all out there. All of the education needed to become a top tier spiritual man who can provide but also love is out there. These men who will act super masculine and say, yeah, but I just provide, bro. I just work hard, bro. They haven't even read a single fucking book. This is why the kind of man who gets divorced by his wife, I have no sympathy for. Open up one book on love. One book on love and you would have saved yourself from getting divorced. And you know what's weird? These same guys who have worked so hard to provide for their families and they prioritize money above everything, eventually they get divorced and lose that money. In a weird way, if you want to keep your wealth, spend less time making the wealth and more time making sure your relationship is great. This fear that so many men have in this space saying, don't get married, don't have children, this fucking boy psychology that you see of men in this space. Their fear is because they know exactly what it will be like when they get into a relationship and they can't turn off the video game addiction to the score in their bank account. This is why so many men of our generation are scared. They're scared of commitment. They're scared of having children because they know that they won't be able to stop working just for money. If you have the certainty of thinking to yourself, you know what, I have accomplished so much in life. I know for a fact I can accomplish getting into a relationship and loving her so fearlessly that she would never get the thought of divorcing me. She couldn't imagine that at all. That's the kind of energy you need. That relentless work ethic that you have. It shouldn't just be about this capitalism money. It should be about so many parts of your life, and your love life is an incredibly important part of that. Don't let these like modern day lonely degenerates, modern day lonely feminist culture tell you otherwise. Don't let these men who are scared of getting married, kind of push that message onto you. They're scared of getting married because they know what they're like in a relationship. They work all day. They're not even loving towards their women. And they're like, oh yeah, she's just annoying. She keeps pulling me away from work. I've been there. I know what it feels like to work 12 hours a day and think that women are kind of annoying and I'd rather just be solo, because as men, that is one of our biggest strengths and weaknesses. We can just put our head down and just fucking work. I had to reframe my mind to say, wait, I love to work as a masculine man, but work does not just need to be for money. Work can be for my health. It can be for the important parts of my life. A work task for me can be going to the gym with a male friend, knowing how important that is for us. A work task for me can be calling my brother and having a half an hour conversation where we just like chat shit. Why are we just putting all of our masculine energy into this capitalist fucking system of just making money? That's still important, but why can't that be 4 hours a day once you've made a good amount? Now, again, let me just very quickly clarify. If you're in those earlier stages of really wanting to get into business or fitness or whatever of these masculine goals, you really do need to obsess over it for a good few years. So right now, you shouldn't consider like just working 2 hours a day. If you're like a 19-year-old and you want to get into business, work fucking 10 hours a day because you don't have children right now. You're not married right now. But when you hit that big milestone and you've maintained like 10K a month for like an entire year, at that point, more money is honestly not going to get you more love from a woman. It might end up getting you a woman who's got more followers on Instagram and also more of a body count because that kind of woman wants you to gift her a fucking handbag or something. Bro, the best woman that you'll meet in your life will be happier when you give her a fucking seashell, a pebble, than an expensive handbag or a car. I promise you this. This is one of the like a piece of wisdom that I've learned in my years of being a man. You know you've met the right woman where she will literally be so happier and in love when you give her a seashell than when you give her some expensive holiday trip or whatever the fuck that you could do when you've worked really hard. You don't want to be one of the... Put this image in your mind. Let's say you've traveled somewhere and you're in some like fancy place and there's an absolutely gorgeous woman and she's there with a stressed, fat, unhealthy looking guy who's constantly on his phone and he's wearing really like expensive clothing. So imagine this, I don't know, I imagine him being like brown or something. He's got a big fat stomach, but he's wearing like, I don't know, Versace clothes with a necklace and something, and his woman's got this handbag and she's there, you know, enjoying herself, taking pictures for Instagram, and he works 12 hours a day like a fucking dog. You don't want to live that kind of lifestyle. She's fucking hit her personal trainer on the side. You don't want to live the lifestyle of the guy who sacrificed everything to just be a glorified mule. Whether he does that at those low end levels where he's not making much money, but he just works all day, or he's just a glorified businessman who works all day, makes more money, but at the end of the day, the hedonic adaptation makes it feel like it's the same thing anyway. I hope I've made my point clear. This does not mean that you should not work hard. You should be a young, ambitious man and should use your masculine drive to really achieve a lot in life. But a huge part of that achievement can be your relationships. It can be your health, your fitness, and other goals. For the next few years of your life, assuming you're like this young guy who wants to find his place in life and create success, work relentlessly fucking hard, sacrifice things to create this success and to get your business or career and, you know, to really be competitive. But you'll get to the point where you're making above like $10,000 a month. That's like a random figure in your country. Like if someone's watching this from India, it'll be a different figure. But let's say in like the US standard, let's say it's about 10K, UK standard about 10K, right? Once you've got to that point and you're making more than like 99% of people in your country, more money will only be able to get you the materialistic things that you know will not actually transform much in life. It will get you validation from unintelligent people. You never gave a fuck about that. You can have the successful business where you work on it for like 4 focused hours in the morning, and when it's done, your wife and kids are already up and they're already like playing games, and you hear your daughter's beautiful giggle that sounds the same as your wife's, and all of you are hopping into like the ice bath together and into the sauna and working out together, and your children are like mini athletes and they are so healthy. You can already see that your son has high testosterone because you've educated yourself on these topics to make sure your house has got no weird chemicals so that their health is so great. And your brother, your friends live next door, other couples that you love live next door, and you all meet up every single day. You're teaching them, you've got tutors coming in. You can have that entire thing and also make an incredible amount of money at the same time. You don't want to be like the guy who makes the money, obsesses over the score in his bank account, and his wife doesn't even get wet for him anymore. His children are just there mindlessly on their phones, and they all eat separately at separate times during the day. Think about those two visions, the one where you've got that ideal Adonis lifestyle, where your children are also happy, playing with their mother, you come in and they're all like hugging you and everything, that amazing lifestyle. And a picture the one where like your child is just like in his room by himself eating his food, your wife's like out flirting with the personal trainer. Which one in terms of money would you rather want? In that one, you're only making 10K a month, but you've got this beautiful life. In this one, you're making $1 million a month, but you're at risk of divorce. Your children don't even like you. So if that one you would choose over this, that just means you've just chosen that like loving relationship with your family is worth over 990K. That's the difference between them, right? 10K a month, 1 million a month, right? You've just said that the difference of you actually having like a loving, healthy family is basically $1 million a month. So a weird, quick way for you to get the kind of lifestyle benefit of $1 million a month is to create that into reality. That's what it's costing you per month to not have the loving relationship and the healthy family. Because all the money in the world is pointless if you don't actually have the good people to spend it with. If it creates this lifestyle for you where you are actually lonely and overthinking and you see your wife's distaste for you. If you feel like your children are being raised by like someone else and they don't even like you, you don't even eat at the same time, you're barely even a family, but you've got money in your bank account. Go and take the trip, go and cheat on your wife, go and sleep with some random girl in a different country and enjoy the 5 minutes of pleasure like so many businessmen do. But I personally believe this is the lifestyle that we should reach for. And you know what's interesting? When you have that happy, healthy life, and you have a wife who supports you and children who think that you're Superman, it becomes quite easy to take that 10K a month profit and make it into 15,000 and 20,000, all in the same few hours of work that you're doing in the morning, like before your children even wake up. You can have it all. You absolutely can. You've just got to be careful of falling victim to that propaganda of like, just money matters. That's all that a man should do. That, to me, is disrespectful to men. Thinking that men are just mules. That's all that a man can bring to the table. You are her other half. You are the masculine leader of your family, the captain of the ship. And to think that money is going to outweigh any of these things instead of you being there as a human being and looking at your little son in the eyes when he asks you a question and spending half an hour eating with them for every meal and relentlessly like having insane sex with your woman. To think that you should trade all that for more money so that you can keep stacking these numbers in your bank account, then you can invest more there, that you can get more numbers. What is the money for? What is the money for if not to have that perfect life? I really hope you don't make the same mistakes as so many successful men who are on this path, the ambitious, hardworking, masculine men who just have level 1 ambition. I hope this video has convinced you to have level 10 ambition and to think to yourself, bro, I'm gonna have it fucking all. I'm gonna live that ultimate life where I've got like the happy, healthy family, but I've also making a bunch of profit in my business, but I only work a few hours a day so I can raise my children, I can be super healthy, I can always be sleeping well. That's what I want for you. If you've watched this far of this video, the top link in the description, I think you'll really like that. I made this Notion template of like deep questions to ask yourself, so just go click on that right now. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.